He's back. Oh, I no. Let me start off by saying, Raheem Morris is such an interesting character in the Rams organization because he was our defensive coordinator when we won a Super Bowl. And the defense during the playoffs played very top tier at a very high level. I've often said statistically, Raheem's defense does well situationally. I have concerns, but I do think it's always important to acknowledge is that the players love Raheem Morris. He does contribute a lot to the Rams culture, which is so important in the NFL, and he's someone who can challenge and push back against Sean McVay. And I want to start off by saying this, and for anyone out there who was really hoping that he would get the Colts job so that the Rams could look for a new defensive coordinator, I think in this point in the kind of hiring cycle of the NFL, we kind of lucked out keeping Raheem Morris, and he definitely deserved an opportunity. I think he could be a good head coach in the NFL. Despite any criticisms people have of him. But let me start off by just sharing this here. So sharing is caring. We're looking at here, if you look at his history, so he's been the defensive coordinator the past 2 years. So this will be his third year as defensive coordinator for the Rams, joining, Wade Phillips and John Fossil as the only coordinators who have been in those positions for 3 years under the Sean McVay era. So that's cool, and to have that continuity. And if you look at, you look over his career, like he was interim head coach, he's been defensive coordinator, he's had a whole whack load of positions with the Atlanta Falcons for a while. He was with Washington's as their defensive backs coach. He was a head coach when he was a young gun in Tampa for 3 years. And obviously he had only the one winning season. But he has a long career, and he's had success. He's had, failures. He's been on the mountaintop and the valley low, everything in between. And I do think that this ultimately serves the Rams well. I think that this is something that I know a lot of Ram fans are frustrated about, but I do think that Raheem Morris is an intelligent, and brilliant enough football mind that hopefully in this offseason he can, get in the film room, get in the lab, and cook up some defensive, schemes and blitz packages that can really take this defense to a new level. And now I wanted to ask myself the question, why is it that our defensive coordinator, who we won the Super Bowl with, Ram fans are kind of iffy on? And there's people that love Raheem, there's people that want him gone, then there's people that, like, I'll be honest, like me, that are kind of somewhat in the middle, have criticisms, but appreciate him for what he brings, would like to see improvement. But I wanted to point this out. Okay, so hear me out here, folks. Okay, so this is from lineup.com, and I just screenshotted these here. And so this is, and again, I know this is going to be kind of fun here, but this is the defensive rankings for the Rams across a number of categories. So, number 1 means you're really good. 32 means you're really bad. So if you look here, this is from 2022. Okay, so this past season. So as you can see, we had some kind of middle of the pack numbers here, like over here. Interceptions, we did have some games where we were able to generate some turnovers. And the key one, if you look over here, is 5th in red zone touchdowns. And I think a lot of Ram fans would agree that under Raheem Morris, the red zone defense has been pretty good. We often make teams, settle for 3 or generate a turnover or something like that, which is great. It's everything up to the red zone that's the concern. Now, if we compare this to the Super Bowl season that we just had in 2021, these are the numbers here. So they're actually, somewhat worse. which is kind of concerning to me. As you can see, the rankings, again, this is rankings, not the actual percentage numbers, but this is the rankings of it. But the one thing that's still constant is that red zone defense. It's still, solid, right? So obviously this is something that Raheem Morris and Sean McVay have really placed an emphasis on, that the red zone defense is important, right? And we also got a ton of sacks and interceptions because we ranked third in interceptions and 10th in turnovers in general, but third in interceptions, third in sacks in the NFL. And if I'll bring that up one more time in the 2022, you'll see we were 21st in sacks and seventh in interceptions. So that's something that you see a bit of a drop off for a variety of reasons. Now, there's one more thing I want to show you with this. Is if you compare these 2 seasons of Raheem Morris to the previous season with Brandon Staley as our defensive coordinator, wow. As you can see by all the green and the top 1 and 5 rankings, that 2020 defense was so good. So good. You look at if you look at it, it's like almost top 5 or top 10 across almost the entire board. So when Brandon Staley left to go to be the Chargers head coach, and we got Raheem Morris, and people were like, okay, experienced guy and stuff. We saw just this significant drop off in terms of our defense, and again, this is only ranking wise, and that's what these numbers represent. They're not the actual statistics. But when you compare this to this or this, it leaves something to be desired. So I do think that though Brandon Staley has left as our DC, and I don't think he's coming back, even though I know some people, there was some wishful thinking that he would get fired and thing, but that didn't happen. I do think though that because the personnel, hadn't changed a ton. We still had Aaron Donald, we still had Jalen Ramsey, and the kind of the question marks start to come up of well, if the personnel hasn't changed that much, maybe it's a scheme. Maybe it's the defensive coordinator. And that is a fair criticism of Raheem Morris. So anyway, let me know what you guys think, if those numbers mean anything to you. I just thought it was interesting. And so I wanted to share that maybe within the Ram lane, the Ram fans, that's something that we have this expectation of a top tier defense based on the personnel that we have. And, besides red zone D, we've kind of been middle of the pack, which whenever you get whenever you have an expectation and it's not being met, there's some frustrations that come with that. So let me know in the comments what you think. I want to hear from you.